The screaming started at 2:47 a.m. I knew the exact time because I'd been staring at my bedroom ceiling, unable to sleep, when the first shriek pierced through the thin walls of my Brooklyn apartment building. A woman's voice, terrified, begging. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, listening. Another scream, then the sound of someone, hitting a wall. Male voices shouting. More crashes. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a fight in the apartment next to mine. A woman is screaming. It sounds violent. Please send someone. I gave my address, apartment 4B, explained that the noise was coming from 4C. Officers are on their way. Stay in your apartment with the door locked. I waited. 20 minutes. 30. The screaming had stopped, replaced by ominous silence that was somehow worse. I called 911 again. I called about a domestic disturbance 30 minutes ago. No one's come yet. I think something really bad happened. Please, ma'am, units are dispatched based on priority. Someone will arrive as soon as possible. An hour passed, then 2. The police never came. By the time the sun rose, I was exhausted and furious. I'd heard someone in danger, called for help, and been ignored. The silence from apartment 4C was deafening. I hadn't heard my neighbor, a quiet woman named Lisa, who I occasionally saw in the hallway, leave for work like she usually did. I should have minded my own business. Should have put in earbuds and pretended I hadn't heard anything like everyone else in this building probably had. But I couldn't stop thinking about those screams. At 10 a.m., I knocked on Lisa's door. No answer. I tried again. Louder. Nothing. I pulled out my phone and called 911 for the third time. This is Chloe Bennett in apartment 4B. I called twice last night about a violent disturbance in 4C. No one ever came. Now my neighbor isn't answering her door, and I'm worried she's hurt. Can you please send someone? Ma'am, we showed 2 previous calls from your number. Units were dispatched but found no disturbance. What? No one came to my building last night. I was awake the entire time waiting. According to our records, officers responded at 3:15 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. Both times they found no evidence of a disturbance, and no one answered at apartment 4C. That's impossible. I would have seen them. I was listening for them. Ma'am, if you continue to file false reports, you could be charged. Is there anything else? She hung up before I could respond. I stood in the hallway, phone in hand, trying to process what I'd just been told. The police claimed they'd come, but I knew they hadn't. I'd been awake, alert, waiting. No one had knocked on any doors. No one had walked these halls. Someone was lying. And I was terrified it wasn't me. I went to work. I was a paralegal at a small firm in Manhattan, but couldn't concentrate. All day, I kept thinking about Lisa's screams, the lies the police had told me, the terrible silence from apartment 4C. When I got home that evening, I noticed Lisa's door was slightly ajar. Not much, just an inch, like someone had closed it, but it hadn't latched properly. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, to go into my own apartment and forget about it. But I thought about those screams, about the hours of silence, about how the police had lied. I pushed the door open. Lisa, it's Chloe from next door. Are you okay? The apartment was trashed. Furniture overturned, lamp broken, blood. God, there was blood on the carpet near the couch. Not a lot, but enough to make my stomach drop. Lisa? My voice was barely a whisper now. I should have left. Should have called 911 again, let them deal with it. Instead, I walked further into the apartment, my phone clutched in my hand like a weapon. The bedroom door was closed. I reached for the handle, my hand shaking so badly I could barely grip it. The door opened before I could turn the knob. A man stood there. Large, muscular, with cold eyes and blood on his knuckles. Behind him I could see a bed, and on it, I ran. Didn't think. Didn't plan. Just turned and sprinted for the door. He was faster, grabbing my arm and yanking me back so hard I stumbled. My phone flew from my hand, skittering across the trashed living room. You shouldn't have come in here, he said, his voice eerily calm. Why couldn't you mind your own business? Let me go, please, I won't tell anyone. You already told someone. 3 911 calls last night. Very persistent. His grip tightened. Do you know who I am? I shook my head, too terrified to speak. I'm Detective Ryan Morrison, NYPD, and you just witnessed a crime scene you were never supposed to see. A cop. The man who'd hurt Lisa was a cop. That's why my calls had been dismissed. Why they'd claimed officers had responded when they hadn't. The police weren't coming because the police were the problem. Lisa, I managed to choke out. What did you do to her? Lisa made some poor choices. Got involved with the wrong people. Saw things she shouldn't have seen. I was sent to clean up the mess. He started dragging me toward the bedroom. And now you've seen things you shouldn't have seen. So I guess I'm cleaning up 2 messes tonight. I fought. Kicked, scratched, screamed, did everything I could to get away. He hit me, a backhanded slap that made my ears ring and filled my mouth with blood, and I went down hard. Stop fighting. It'll be easier if you just... The apartment door slammed open with enough force to rattle the walls. Morrison dropped me, his hand going to the gun at his waist. I scrambled backward, trying to get away from both the corrupt cop and whoever had just arrived. 3 men entered the apartment. They moved with coordinated precision, spreading out to block all exits. They wore expensive suits and moved like predators, confident, dangerous, completely in control. But it was the man who entered last that made my breath catch. He was tall and powerfully built, with dark hair and sharp features that would have been handsome if they weren't so terrifying. He wore a black dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing muscular forearms covered in intricate tattoos. Expensive watch, heavy rings, an aura of danger that made Morrison, a corrupt cop with a gun, take a step back. Detective Morrison, the man said, his voice smooth and cold. You're in my territory. Did you forget to ask permission before conducting business here? This doesn't concern you, Russo. Police business. Police business? Russo, apparently that was his name, looked at me, still on the floor with blood in my mouth, then at the destroyed apartment. Interesting police work, though I don't remember the NYPD hiring thugs who beat women in my neighborhood. The woman was a witness to, I don't care. Russo moved further into the room, and Morrison actually flinched. This is my territory. You work here, you clear it with me first. You didn't. That's a problem. I answer to the department, not to you. You answer to whoever signs your checks. And we both know who that is. Russo's smile was sharp and dangerous. So here's how this works. You leave, now, and you don't come back to my territory without permission. Understand? Morrison looked between Russo, his 3 men, and me. Whatever calculation he was making, he apparently didn't like the odds. He holstered his gun. This isn't over. The girl is under my protection now. Touch her again and we'll have a much bigger problem than territory disputes. Russo's tone left no room for argument. Leave, and take your mess with you. Morrison looked like he wanted to argue, but one of Russo's men took a step forward, hand moving to his jacket where I was sure there was a gun, and Morrison decided discretion was the better choice. He left, shooting me a look that promised this wasn't finished. The moment he was gone, I tried to stand. My legs wouldn't cooperate. I stayed on the floor, shaking, trying to process what had just happened. Russo crouched in front of me, his dark eyes assessing. You're the one who called 911 3 times last night. Chloe Bennett, apartment 4B. How do you... I know everything that happens in my territory, including when someone calls the police about violence and those calls get mysteriously dismissed. He offered me his hand. Can you stand? I stared at his hand, tattooed, scarred, clearly belonging to someone dangerous, and had to make a choice. Trust the corrupt cop who'd been about to kill me, or trust the criminal who'd just saved me. I took his hand. He pulled me up easily, steadying me when I swayed. One of his men appeared with a wet cloth, and Russo gently wiped the blood from my mouth. We need to get you somewhere safe. Morrison works for people who don't like loose ends, and you're a very loose end right now. He studied my face. Did he tell you what happened to your neighbor? He said she saw something she shouldn't have, that he was cleaning up a mess. My voice broke. Is she dead? We'll find out. But right now, I need to get you out of this building before Morrison comes back with friends. He nodded to one of his men. Marco, search the apartment. Find the woman if she's here. If she's not, find out where they took her. Wait, you're helping me? Why? I pulled back slightly. You're clearly not a good person. I'm Dante Russo. I run this neighborhood and a lot of other neighborhoods in Brooklyn. I'm definitely not a good person. His smile was wry, but I have rules. One of them is that you don't hurt women in my territory without consequences. Another is that corrupt cops don't operate here without my knowledge. Morrison broke both those rules. So yes, I'm helping you. Because you did something stupid but brave. You reported a crime and kept pushing when you were told to stop. That's admirable. Foolish but admirable. I'm not going anywhere with you. You're a criminal who just saved your life. Morrison was going to kill you, dispose of your body, and make it look like you never existed. I stopped that. So you can either come with me to somewhere safe, or you can stay here and wait for him to come back. He straightened. Your choice, Chloe, but choose fast. Marco emerged from the bedroom. Boss, the bed has blood but no body. Looks like they moved her already. Find out where. Call our contact at the hospital. See if any Jane Does came in last night matching the description. Dante turned back to me. Last chance. You coming or staying? I thought about Morrison's cold eyes, the way he'd hit me so casually, his promise that this wasn't over. I thought about Lisa, hurt or dead because she'd seen things she shouldn't have seen. I thought about my 3 911 calls that had been ignored or actively covered up. The police weren't going to help me. The law wasn't going to protect me. I'll come with you, I said quietly. But if you try to hurt me, if I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have interrupted Morrison. He guided me toward the door. Come on, we'll get you cleaned up, figure out our next move. As we left the apartment, I looked back one more time at the destroyed living room, the blood on the carpet, the evidence of violence that would probably be cleaned up and forgotten by morning. I'd tried to help someone. I'd done the right thing. And now my life was in the hands of a man who was probably just as dangerous as the cop I was running from. Dante's car was a black SUV with tinted windows. Expensive and intimidating. One of his men, Marco, I thought, opened the back door, and Dante guided me inside before sliding in next to me. The other 2 men got in the front and we pulled away from my building. Where are we going? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Somewhere safe. I have a place in Brooklyn Heights. Dante was typing on his phone, presumably coordinating whatever came next. We'll get you settled, then figure out what Morrison's people know, and how much danger you're actually in. I don't understand why you care. You don't know me. He looked up from his phone, his dark eyes meeting mine. You called 911 3 times for a woman you barely knew. You didn't ignore the screaming like everyone else in that building did. You pushed back when the police lied to you. Then you walked into a crime scene because you were worried about your neighbor. He pocketed his phone. That tells me you're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, you don't deserve to die for trying to do the right thing. So this is charity? The mob has a conscience now? The mob has rules and interests. Morrison working in my territory without permission threatens those interests. Your leverage against him. Proof that he was about to commit murder to cover up whatever mess he made with your neighbor. His expression was calculating. Keeping you alive and safe serves my purposes. The fact that you're also innocent in all this is just a bonus. How reassuring. I'm alive because I'm useful. You're alive because I decided you should be. In your current situation, that's all the reassurance you need. He wasn't unkind, just matter of fact. Chloe, I know this is terrifying, but you need to understand what you're dealing with. Morrison isn't just a corrupt cop. He works for people. Powerful people who use the police to handle problems they can't solve legally. Your neighbor must have seen or heard something those people wanted buried. Morrison was sent to bury it? And me? Now I'm something to bury too? Now you're a witness to Morrison attempting murder, which means you're either dead, disappeared, or protected by someone they can't easily eliminate. I'm option 3. The car pulled up to a beautiful brownstone in a neighborhood I definitely couldn't afford. We're here. Let's get you inside. The brownstone was elegant but clearly designed for security. Cameras visible at every entrance, reinforced door, windows that looked bulletproof. Inside was surprisingly warm, expensive furniture, art on the walls, more like a home than a fortress. Maria, Dante called, and an older woman appeared from what looked like the kitchen. We have a guest. She's had a rough night. Can you get the guest room ready and find her some clean clothes? Maria took one look at my face, still swelling from where Morrison had hit me, and her expression softened. Of course. Come with me, dear. Let's get you cleaned up. I followed her upstairs, too overwhelmed to argue. She showed me to a spacious bedroom with an attached bathroom, laid out clothes that looked expensive, and gently cleaned the cut on my lip while talking soothingly in Italian. Mr. Russo. He's a good man, she said as she worked. People don't understand. They think because he's in the business he's in, he must be cruel. But he has honor. He protects people. He's a criminal. So are the people who hurt you. At least Mr. Russo has rules. She finished with my lip and handed me the clothes. Shower, change, come downstairs when you're ready. I'll make you something to eat. You look like you haven't had a good meal in weeks. She wasn't wrong. Paralegal salaries in New York didn't leave much room for good meals. After the shower, I felt more human. The clothes fit perfectly, soft leggings and an oversized sweater, and when I came downstairs, I found Dante in what looked like a study, multiple screens showing security camera feeds, his phone to his ear speaking rapid Italian. He switched to English when he saw me. I'll call you back. Yes, make sure she stays there. Good. He hung up. Sit. Maria's bringing food. I sat in a leather chair across from his desk, feeling like I was in a movie. Did you find Lisa? She's alive. Barely. She's at Mercy Hospital under a false name. Morrison worked her over pretty badly before you interrupted by calling 911. He pulled up a file on his computer. Her real name is Lisa Castellano. She's the daughter of a man who worked for the Moretti family, rival organization to mine. She saw something 6 months ago at her father's house. A meeting, a conversation, something that made her dangerous. What did she see? We're not sure yet. But whatever it was, the Morettis couldn't risk her talking about it. They called in their cops, Morrison and his friends, to handle her quietly. His expression was grim. If you hadn't called 911, if you hadn't made noise about it, she'd be dead and buried by now. Your persistence saved her life, but brought Morrison to my door. Yes. Which is why you can't go back to your apartment, can't go to work, can't contact friends or family until we figure out how deep this goes and how much danger you're really in. He must have seen my expression, because he added, I know this is a lot. You're essentially in protective custody with the mob, not how you expected your week to go. That's putting it mildly. Maria appeared with a tray of food. Pasta that smelled incredible, bread, wine. I realized I was starving. Thank you. Eat, Dante said. Then we'll talk about next steps. I ate while he worked, occasionally answering phone calls in Italian or giving orders to people I couldn't see. I studied him when he wasn't looking, the tattoos on his forearms that seemed to tell a story, the way he commanded respect even over the phone, the contrast between his dangerous reputation and the way he'd been almost gentle with me. You're staring, he said without looking up. I'm trying to figure you out. 1 minute you're threatening a cop, the next you're having your housekeeper make me pasta. I contain multitudes. He finally looked at me, a slight smile on his lips. I'm not a good man, Chloe. I run criminal operations. I've done things that would horrify you, but I also have lines I don't cross. Hurting innocent people is one of them. What Morrison did to your neighbor, what he was about to do to you, that crosses my lines. So this is about honor among thieves? This is about keeping order in my territory. Can't have cops acting like they run the place, killing civilians without permission. His expression hardened. And it's about sending a message. The Morettis use my streets for their dirty work without asking. That's disrespectful. I'm going to make sure they understand that disrespect has consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind you don't need to know about. You're already in deeper than you should be. He stood, moving to look out the window at the street below. Tomorrow I'm sending men to your apartment to pack your things. You'll stay here for now. It's secure, well protected. Morrison or anyone else comes looking for you. They'll have to go through my security first. I can't just stay here indefinitely. I have a job. You have a target on your back. Your job doesn't matter if you're dead. He turned back to me. I'll take care of your rent, your bills, whatever you need. But you stay here, stay safe, stay out of sight until this is resolved. And how long will that take? As long as it takes. Days, weeks, maybe longer. He saw my expression and his tone softened slightly. I know this isn't fair. You didn't ask for any of this. But you're alive, which is better than the alternative Morrison had planned. Make peace with it. That night, I lay in the guest room that was nicer than any place I'd ever lived, trying to process everything. I'd called 911 to help a neighbor. Now I was in protective custody with a mob boss, hiding from a corrupt cop, with no idea when I could return to my normal life. My phone buzzed. Several missed calls from my boss, texts from friends asking where I was. Dante had told me not to respond, that any communication could be traced, could give away my location. I was effectively a prisoner, even if my prison was a luxury brownstone with a housekeeper who made incredible pasta. Around 2 a.m., I heard voices downstairs. Male voices, heated conversation. I crept to my door, opening it a crack to listen. Can't keep her here indefinitely. Eventually, Morrison's people will find out where she is. That was Marco. Then we make sure we're ready when they come. Dante's voice, calm and controlled. Increase security. 2 men outside at all times, 1 in the house. I want cameras on every approach. Alerts if anyone suspicious comes within 2 blocks. Boss, this is a lot of resources for 1 civilian witness. Why not just put her in a safe house? Let someone else watch her. Because Morrison's people have resources inside safe houses, inside police stations, inside most places I'd normally stash a witness. A pause. She stays here where I can personally guarantee her safety. You like her. This from a third voice I didn't recognize. That's what this is about. You actually like the girl. I respect what she did. There's a difference. But Dante's tone suggested maybe there wasn't as much difference as he wanted to admit. Now go. I want reports every 4 hours. Any movement from Morrison or the Morettis, I hear about it immediately. I closed my door quietly and went back to bed, my mind racing. Dante was putting significant resources into protecting me. That was either very good news or very bad news, depending on his motivations. The next week fell into a strange routine. I stayed in the brownstone, helped Maria with cooking and cleaning because I couldn't stand being idle. Dante was gone most days, returning in the evenings to give me updates. Lisa was recovering. Morrison had been quiet, which was concerning. They expected him to make a move. The Morettis were unhappy that their cleanup had failed and were looking for me. How long can this go on? I asked one evening as we ate dinner. Maria had insisted we eat together, said it wasn't healthy for either of us to eat alone. Until the Morettis decide you're not worth the trouble, or until we find leverage that makes them back off. Dante refilled my wine glass. We're working on the leverage part. Lisa's testimony about what she saw could be useful if we can get her to talk. But she's terrified. Can you blame her? She almost died. No, but her silence is keeping you in danger. If we knew what she saw, we could use it to negotiate your safety. Negotiate with who? The Morettis? Or with Morrison's bosses in the police department? Or with the DA's office? Whoever gives us the best deal. He saw my expression. This is how these things work, Chloe. It's not about right and wrong. It's about leverage and negotiation and finding the solution that keeps the most people alive. That's a depressing worldview. That's a realistic worldview. The sooner you accept it, the easier this will be. But I couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept that right and wrong didn't matter, that justice was just a negotiation tool, that I was a bargaining chip in a game I didn't understand. 2 weeks into my stay, everything changed. I was in the study. Dante had given me access to his computer so I could at least do some work remotely, keep my mind occupied, when Marco burst in. They found her. Morrison's people found Lisa at the hospital. They're moving her now, probably to finish what they started. Dante was on his feet immediately. How many men? 3 that we saw. Could be more. Get everyone. We intercept before they leave the hospital grounds. He grabbed his jacket, then looked at me. Chloe, stay here. Don't leave this house for any reason. Understand? You're going to save her? I'm going to try. She's the key to keeping you safe. Can't do that if she's dead. He was already moving toward the door. Maria, stay with Chloe. No one comes in except my men. Then he was gone, and I was left with Maria and 2 security guards, wondering if Dante would come back at all. The waiting was excruciating. Maria tried to distract me with conversation, with food, with Italian television that I couldn't understand. But all I could think about was Dante rushing into danger, Morrison's cold eyes, Lisa fighting for her life in a hospital bed. Hours passed. The security guards changed shifts but said nothing to me, their faces professional and blank. Maria eventually went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, watching the street through the window, jumping at every car that passed. At 3 a.m., I heard vehicles pulling up. Multiple vehicles. My heart raced. Was it Dante returning, or was it Morrison's people coming for me? The front door opened and Dante walked in, his black shirt splattered with blood. He looked exhausted, dangerous, and very much alive. Behind him, 2 of his men carried a stretcher with Lisa, unconscious but breathing. Is she... I started. She'll live. Get Morrison's men before they could move her far. Had a doctor from our payroll meet us here instead of taking her back to the hospital. Safer this way. He gestured to his men. Take her upstairs to the second guest room. Call the doctor. Tell him to come now. As they carried Lisa past me, I saw her face, bruised, swollen, barely recognizable from the quiet neighbor I'd sometimes seen in the hallway. This was my fault. If I'd just minded my own business, if I'd ignored her screams like everyone else. Stop, Dante said, apparently reading my expression. This isn't your fault. They would have killed her either way. You gave her a chance to survive. Did anyone die tonight? Getting her? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. He moved past me toward the stairs. I need to clean up. The doctor will be here in 20 minutes. You should get some sleep. I can't sleep. Not after... I gestured vaguely at everything. Let me help. With Lisa. I can sit with her. Make sure she's okay until the doctor comes. You're not trained for... I'm not trained for any of this. But she's my neighbor. This happened because I tried to help her. Let me help now. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Fine. But if the doctor says you're in the way, you leave. Understood? Lisa was barely conscious when I entered the guest room. The doctor, a nervous man who clearly didn't want to be there but was too afraid of Dante to refuse, checked her vitals, redressed her wounds, gave her something for the pain. She needs a hospital, he said to Dante. Real medical care, not whatever I can do in a bedroom. Hospital's not safe. Do what you can here. Dante's tone left no room for argument. After the doctor left, I sat with Lisa, holding her hand, talking to her even though I didn't know if she could hear. Told her she was safe now, that Dante had protected her, that Morrison couldn't hurt her anymore. Around dawn, her eyes fluttered open. She looked at me, confused and terrified. It's okay, I said softly. You're safe. I'm Chloe from apartment 4B, do you remember? You called the police. For me? Her voice was barely a whisper. I tried. They didn't come. But someone else did. He got you away from the people who were hurting you. Who? His name is Dante Russo. He's... complicated. But he saved you. Lisa started crying silently, tears running down her bruised face. They'll keep coming. They won't stop until I'm dead. Why? What did you see that made them so desperate? She looked at me with haunted eyes. I saw my father murder someone. A cop, actually. Someone who was going to testify against the Moretti family. My father shot him in our living room and I walked in right after. She closed her eyes. I should have pretended I didn't see. Should have just walked away. But I screamed. And my father knew I'd seen everything. So he called Morrison to clean up the witness. You. Morrison's been on the Moretti payroll for years. Handles their problems. Makes evidence disappear. Witnesses disappear. Anyone who threatens the organization. Her hand tightened on mine. I'm never going to be safe. Even here, even with protection, they'll find a way. Not if you testify. Not if you tell the authorities what you saw. Testify to who? The police? They're working for the people trying to kill me. The DA? Half of them are probably paid off too. She looked at me with despair. There's no one to tell. No one who can help. That's why I never told anyone what I saw. Better to pretend ignorance than to be killed for knowing too much. But Morrison found out anyway. My father told him. Wanted me eliminated before I could become a problem. Fresh tears. My own father chose the organization over his daughter. I heard footsteps and turned to find Dante in the doorway. He'd showered and changed, but still looked exhausted. How's she doing? He asked. Physically, better than expected. Emotionally. I looked at Lisa. She needs real help. Protection, therapy, a way forward that doesn't involve constant fear. I can provide protection. The rest is more complicated. He came into the room, pulling up a chair. Lisa, I need to know exactly what you saw. Every detail. If we're going to keep both of you safe, I need leverage against the Morettis. Your testimony is that leverage. I told you there's no one to testify to. There's me. I'm not police, not DA, not anyone with official power. But I am someone the Morettis don't want as an enemy. If I have information about a murder they committed, information that could be released to the right people if anything happens to you or Chloe, that's leverage. His dark eyes were intent. Tell me what you saw. Give me the power to protect you both. Lisa hesitated, looking between us. Then slowly she started talking. About walking into her father's living room 6 months ago. About seeing Detective James Riley, a cop who'd been about to testify about Moretti corruption, on the floor, blood spreading from a gunshot wound to his head. About her father standing over him with a gun, calmly calling it in as a burglary gone wrong. Riley was going to expose everything, Lisa said. The money the Morettis paid to cops, the evidence they buried, the cases they made disappear. He had proof. Names, dates, amounts. He was going to bring down half the precinct. Where's that proof now? Dante asked. I don't know. The Morettis must have it, or they destroyed it. Riley's testimony died with him. She closed her eyes. And I'm next. Then Chloe. Then anyone else who knows anything about it. After Lisa fell asleep again, Dante and I went downstairs. Maria had breakfast ready despite the early hour, and we ate in silence for several minutes. What happens now? I finally asked. Now I use what Lisa told me to negotiate with the Morettis. Let them know I have testimony about the Riley murder, that it will be released if anything happens to either of you. That usually buys enough safety for people to start rebuilding their lives. Usually? Nothing's guaranteed. But it's the best option we have. He drank his coffee, studying me over the rim. You did well with her. She trusts you. That's important. She's going to need someone who's not in this life to keep her grounded. I'm in this life now whether I wanted to be or not. You can still get out. Once the deal is made, once you're safe, you can go back to your apartment, your job, your normal life. Pretend none of this happened, can I? Will I ever feel safe again knowing Morrison's still out there? Knowing the Morettis have power over the police? I set down my fork. Everything I thought I understood about justice and law and doing the right thing, it's all broken. The system I believed in failed. The only reason I'm alive is because a criminal decided to protect me. Welcome to reality. It's disappointing, isn't it? His smile was wry. Most people never see behind the curtain. They trust that the system works, that police help, that justice prevails. You've seen the truth, that power is all that matters, and the powerful protect each other. So what do I do with that knowledge? How do I go back to my normal life knowing what I know? You don't, not really. You'll always see things differently now. Always question authority. Always wonder who's really in control. He stood, clearing his plate. But you'll be alive. That's not nothing. The negotiation with the Morettis took 2 days of careful back and forth. Dante wouldn't tell me the details, just that they were discussing terms. I spent the time with Lisa, helping her recover physically and emotionally, learning her story, understanding how we'd both become pawns in a game much bigger than ourselves. Do you trust him? Lisa asked me one afternoon as we sat in her room. Dante, I mean. Do you really think he can keep us safe? I think he's the only option we have. And so far, he's kept his word. He got you away from Morrison. He's protecting us both. He's negotiating a deal that might let us live normal lives again. But he's still a criminal. Still part of the same world as the people trying to kill us. A criminal with honor, with rules, who draws lines he won't cross. I thought about how Dante had reacted to finding me with Morrison, how he'd been almost gentle despite his dangerous reputation. I trust him more than I trust the police. At least he's honest about what he is. On the 3rd day, Dante called me to his study. He looked satisfied, which I hoped was a good sign. It's done. The Morettis have agreed to leave you both alone. No retaliation, no further attempts. Complete immunity, as long as you stay quiet about what you know. And if we don't stay quiet, then the deal is void and you're on your own. But Chloe, this is the best outcome you could hope for. You get your life back. Lisa gets her life back. You both get to walk away from this. What about Morrison? What about justice for what he did? Morrison is being handled separately. The Morettis are cutting him loose. Apparently his failure with Lisa made him a liability. He'll disappear, probably end up in a different city doing the same work for different people, but he won't touch you again. That's part of the deal. It wasn't justice. It wasn't even close. But it was survival. Thank you, I said quietly. For everything. For saving me. Protecting me. Negotiating this deal. You didn't have to do any of it. No, I didn't. He came around the desk, standing close enough that I could smell his cologne. Expensive, masculine. But I wanted to. You were brave when most people would have been cowards. That deserves to be rewarded. Is that all it was? Rewarding bravery? At first, his dark eyes held mine. But you've been living in my house for 3 weeks. I've watched you take care of Lisa, seen your strength, your compassion, your refusal to break even when everything around you was falling apart. It stopped being about bravery and started being about you. My heart raced. Dante, we can't, I know. You're a civilian, I'm a criminal. You want justice and order? I deal in power and leverage. We're from different worlds. He stepped back, giving me space. But I wanted you to know that keeping you safe was never just business. At some point it became personal. What does that mean? It means when the deal is done and you go back to your life, I'm going to miss having you here. Miss our dinners, our conversations, the way you challenge me. He smiled slightly. It means I've gotten attached to someone I probably shouldn't have. I'm attached too, I admitted. Which is insane. You're a mob boss. I watched you come home covered in blood. You've done things that should horrify me. But they don't? They should. But when I balance those things against the fact that you saved my life, protected a stranger, negotiated for our safety when you could have just walked away, I don't know what to think anymore. Think about this. He moved closer again, his hand coming up to cup my cheek. When you leave here, when you go back to your normal life, you'll have my number. If you ever need anything, help, protection, just someone to talk to who understands what you went through, you call me. Day or night, I'll answer. Why would you do that? Because in 3 weeks you've become important to me. And I protect what's important. He leaned in, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he pressed his lips to my forehead. Gentle, almost chaste. Go back to your life, Chloe. But remember, you always have a place here if you need it. 2 days later, I moved back into my apartment. It had been cleaned. All evidence of Morrison's violence removed. Furniture replaced where it had been broken. Dante's people had been thorough. Lisa moved in with a distant cousin upstate, away from the city and the memories. We exchanged numbers, promised to stay in touch, both of us knowing we probably wouldn't. Some experiences are too traumatic to revisit, even with people who shared them. I went back to work, making excuses about a family emergency for my absence. My boss wasn't happy, but he accepted it. Life returned to something resembling normal. Wake up, commute, work, come home, repeat. Except nothing felt normal anymore. I'd see a cop on the street and wonder if he was like Morrison. Corrupt and dangerous beneath the badge. I'd hear sirens and tense up, remembering those 3 ignored 911 calls. I'd pass the building where Dante's brownstone was and slow down, wondering what he was doing, if he ever thought about me. 3 weeks after leaving his protection, I was walking home from the subway when I noticed them. 2 men following me at a distance, not Dante's men. I'd learned to recognize his security. These were different, unfamiliar. My heart raced. Had the Morettis changed their minds about the deal? Was Morrison back for revenge? I picked up my pace. So did they. I turned a corner, heading toward the busier streets where there would be witnesses. They followed. I was pulling out my phone to call Dante when a black SUV pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Marco. Get in. Now. I didn't argue, diving into the back seat. Marco pulled away smoothly as the 2 men who'd been following me tried to catch up. Who were they? I asked, my hands shaking. Not sure yet, but the boss has had eyes on you since you left. When those 2 started tailing you, we intercepted. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. Boss wants to see you. Make sure you're okay. I'm fine. Just spooked. You're not fine. And you're coming to the house whether you like it or not. 15 minutes later, I was back in Dante's brownstone. He was waiting in the study, looking furious. "I had one simple job," he said without preamble. "Keep you safe. And 3 weeks after you leave my protection, you're being followed by people we can't identify. Explain to me how that's keeping you safe. You can't watch me forever. I can and I will if necessary." He was pacing, agitated in a way I'd never seen him. The deal with the Morettis should have covered this. If they're breaking it already, what if it wasn't them? What if it was someone else? Like who? Morrison's supposed to be in Miami by now. The Morettis agreed to back off. Who else would target you? I don't know, but I can't live like this, Dante. I can't spend every day looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows, wondering if every stranger is a threat. Then you stay here, where I can protect you properly. For how long? Forever? I have a life, you have a life that's in danger. That supersedes everything else. He stopped pacing, moving close to me. "Chloe, I've been going crazy these past 3 weeks, wondering if you're safe, if the deal was holding, if I made a mistake letting you leave. Having you followed was the only way I could sleep at night." "You've been having me followed?" "Of course I have. You think I'd just let you walk away without making sure no one was going to hurt you?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I know it's overprotective. I know it's invasive. But I can't—" He stopped himself. "I can't lose you. Not when I just found you." The admission hung between us, heavy and complicated. "Dante, what is this? What are we doing?" I gestured between us. "You're a mob boss. I'm a paralegal. We come from completely different worlds. This can't work. Why not?" "Because," I struggled for words. "Because you're dangerous. Because your life is violent and illegal. Because dating you would mean accepting things I've spent my whole life believing were wrong. And yet you're here. You came with Marco without argument. You've been thinking about me these past 3 weeks, just like I've been thinking about you." He moved closer, his hands coming up to frame my face. "Tell me you haven't felt this. This pull between us. Tell me I'm imagining it." "You're not imagining it. But feeling something doesn't mean acting on it is a good idea. I've built my entire life on acting on things that aren't good ideas. It's worked out pretty well so far." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "Chloe, I'm not a good man. I've told you that. But with you, I want to be better. Want to be someone worthy of the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. How do I look at you? Like I'm not a monster. Like maybe, despite everything, I could be something more." He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching mine. "Tell me to stop. Tell me this is a terrible idea and I'll back away. I'll keep you safe from a distance. Make sure you're protected, but I won't push for more. But if you don't tell me to stop." I kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't thought through. I just knew that I'd been thinking about this moment for 3 weeks, wondering what it would feel like, if the electricity between us was real or imagined. It was real. God, it was real. He kissed me back deeply, one hand tangling in my hair, the other pulling me closer. It was desperate and intense, and everything I'd been denying I wanted. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "That was either the best decision or the worst decision you've ever made," he murmured. "Probably both." I pulled back slightly to look at him. "Dante, if we do this, if we try this, I need you to understand something. I can't be part of your criminal world, can't know details about what you do, can't be involved in any of it. I need that separation or I can't live with myself. Done. You'll be completely separate from the business. As far as anyone knows, you're just someone I'm seeing. No connection to operations, no involvement in anything illegal. And the people following me today? I'll find out who they were and handle it. You'll be safe. That's non-negotiable." His dark eyes were intense. "But I need you to understand something too. Dating me comes with risks. There are people who'd love to use you to get to me. You'll have security, probably always. Your life will be watched, protected, but also restricted in ways you might not like. Is it worth it? Are you worth all that? I don't know, but I'd like the chance to try to be." He kissed me again, softer this time. "Stay tonight. Let me make sure you're safe, figure out who was following you. Tomorrow we'll talk about what comes next." I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries, kept my distance from this dangerous man, and his violent world. Instead, I stayed. Dinner was like old times. Maria fussing over us. Good food, easy conversation that flowed between topics. But underneath it all was a new tension. The awareness of each other that hadn't been there before. Or maybe it had been, and we'd just been ignoring it. After dinner, Dante got a call. He excused himself to his study, returning 20 minutes later looking grim. "What is it?" I asked. "The men following you were private investigators, hired by someone to document your movements, find out where you live, who you associate with." "Hired by who?" "That's the concerning part. The PI firm won't say, claims client confidentiality." He sat beside me on the sofa. "But we're working on finding out. My tech people are good at getting information people don't want to share." "Could it be Morrison? Maybe he's not in Miami like the Morettis said." "Possible. Or someone else entirely. Someone who found out about your connection to the Moretti situation and wants to know more." He took my hand. "Either way, you're not safe at your apartment. Not until we know who's looking for you and why." "So what? I move back in here? Become your permanent house guest? Or you become my girlfriend and move in for real?" "Different motivation, same result. You're here where I can protect you." He squeezed my hand. "I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But Chloe, I'm falling for you. Have been since you called 911 3 times for a neighbor you barely knew. You're brave and stubborn and refuse to accept that the world is as dark as it really is. I want to protect that. Want to protect you? By keeping me in a gilded cage? By keeping you alive long enough to figure out who's threatening you and eliminate that threat. Then you can make a real choice about whether you want to be with me or go back to your life." I thought about it. Going back to my apartment alone. Always looking over my shoulder, wondering if the next person following me would be a PI or something worse. Or staying here, safe but dependent on a man whose world was everything I'd been taught to oppose. 1 month, I said finally. "I'll stay here for 1 month while you figure out who hired those investigators. Then we reassess. Figure out if this," I gestured between us, "is real or just adrenaline and proximity and trauma bonding." "It's real," he said with absolute certainty. "But I'll take 1 month if that's what you need to believe it too." That month changed everything. I learned Dante in ways I never had when I was just a person he was protecting. Learned that he woke early and worked out in his home gym. That he was fluent in 4 languages. That he donated anonymously to charities for domestic violence survivors. That he was brutal in business but gentle with the elderly woman who lived next door and sometimes needed help with groceries. "You're not what I expected," I told him one evening as we walked through his neighborhood, always with security following at a discreet distance, but still feeling almost normal. "What did you expect? Scarface with an Italian accent? Something like that. Not someone who reads philosophy and makes terrible jokes and actually listens when I talk about my day." "I contain multitudes," he said with a smile. "Most people only see the dangerous part because that's all they're looking for. You see more, because you let me. You hide the gentle parts from everyone else. Gentleness is weakness in my world. Can't afford to be seen as weak." He pulled me closer as we walked. "But with you, I don't have to hide. You've seen me at my worst. Covered in blood, making threats, operating outside the law. If you can see that and still see the man underneath, then you see the real me." By the end of the month, Dante's people had identified who hired the investigators. A true crime podcaster who'd gotten wind of the Morrison situation and wanted to interview people involved. "Not a threat, just an opportunist. So I'm safe," I said when Dante told me. "The deal with the Morettis is holding. Morrison's in Miami. The only danger was a podcaster who wanted a story. I can go home." "You can," Dante agreed. "The month is up. I said you could reassess." "So reassess. What do you want?" I looked around the brownstone that had become home. At Maria, who baked my favorite cookies and called me Mija. At the security team who'd become familiar faces. At Dante watching me with barely concealed hope in his dark eyes. I want to stay. Not as someone you're protecting, as someone who's choosing to be here, with you, despite all the complications. I moved closer to him. "I want to try this for real. See if we can make it work." His smile was brilliant. "You're sure? Because once you commit to this, to me, there's no going back. You'll be known as Dante Russo's girlfriend. That comes with baggage, I'm sure. I've spent a month waiting for the other shoe to drop. For you to show me the monster everyone says you are. But Dante, you're not a monster. You're just a man trying to survive in a world that doesn't reward gentleness. I took his hands, and I think I'm falling in love with that man. Think? He pulled me into his arms. I know I'm in love with you. Have been since you walked into Lisa's apartment to check on a neighbor instead of minding your own business. You're brave and good and exactly what I didn't know I needed. We're going to be terrible together. The mob boss and the paralegal. People will talk. Let them talk. As long as you're here at the end of the day, I don't care what anyone says. He kissed me deeply. Stay. Not just tonight, permanently. Move in with me. Let me spend every day earning the gift you're giving me by choosing this life. Yes, I said against his lips. Yes to all of it. Moving in with Dante was easier than I expected. My apartment had never felt like home anyway, just a place to sleep between long work days. The brownstone, with its warmth and Maria's cooking and Dante's presence, felt more like home than anywhere I'd lived. My boss at the law firm wasn't thrilled about me working remotely more often, but when I explained I was dealing with ongoing security concerns, he reluctantly agreed. What I didn't tell him was that the security concerns came from dating someone whose enemies might target me to get to him. You're thinking too hard, Dante observed one morning as we had coffee. He'd learned to read me well over the past weeks. What's wrong? I'm lying to people. My boss, my friends, my family, they don't know who you really are, what you do. They think you're just a successful businessman. I am a successful businessman, just not a legal one. He set down his cup. Does it bother you? The lying? Yes, but I don't know what else to do. I can't exactly tell people I'm dating a mob boss. No, you can't. That's the price of this life, Chloe. Secrets, half-truths, keeping people at a distance so they don't ask questions you can't answer. He reached across the table for my hand. If it's too much, if the lying is making you miserable, it's not. Or at least it's worth it to be with you. I just wish it could be simpler. Nothing about my life is simple. I warned you about that. He had warned me. And I'd chosen this anyway. Chosen him despite the complications. 3 months into living together, Lisa called. I hadn't heard from her since she'd moved upstate, and I was surprised to hear her voice. Chloe, I need your help. Can we meet? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop in Manhattan, neutral territory. When I arrived, with Marco following at a discreet distance because Dante insisted, Lisa looked better than the last time I'd seen her. Healthier, less haunted, though the trauma still showed in the way she constantly checked the doors. You look good, I said, sitting down. How's the new place? Safe, quiet, boring, which is exactly what I need. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. But I've been thinking about what happened. About Morrison, about my father, about all of it. And I can't just let it go. Lisa, the deal. I know about the deal. Stay quiet, stay safe. But that cop my father killed? James Riley? He had a wife, kids. They deserve to know the truth about what happened to him. Her eyes were intense. I want to testify, officially, to someone who will actually do something about it. That's suicide. The Morettis will void the deal, come after you, only if they find out. But what if we did it carefully? What if there was a way to get my testimony on record without the Morettis knowing until it's too late? She leaned forward. I've been doing research. There's a federal prosecutor, someone who's been building a case against organized crime corruption. If I could give him my testimony, if he could use it as part of a bigger case, Dante would never agree to this. It puts you at risk, which puts everyone at risk. Then don't tell him. Not until it's done. Just help me make contact, set up a meeting. I need to do this, Chloe. I can't live with myself knowing I have information that could bring justice, and I'm just sitting on it to stay safe. I understood the impulse. Hell, I'd made 3 911 calls for her when staying quiet would have been safer. But this was different. This was deliberately violating a deal that kept us both alive. Let me think about it. Talk to some people. See if there's a way to do this that doesn't get everyone killed. People meant Dante, of course. That night, I told him about Lisa's call, her desire to testify, the prosecutor she'd found. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker as I talked. Absolutely not. The deal with the Morettis is the only thing keeping both of you alive. Lisa breaks it, they come after her. And you're connected to her, which means they come after you too. He was pacing, agitated. No, this doesn't happen. She just wants justice. Justice isn't worth dying for. Lisa needs to understand that and move on with her life. He stopped pacing. You told her no, right? That you wouldn't help with this? I told her I'd think about it. Chloe. His voice was hard. You're not seriously considering helping her with this insanity. I'm considering that she's right. That Riley's family deserves answers. That maybe there's a way to do this safely if we're careful. I stood to face him. You have contacts, resources, ways of making things happen without leaving fingerprints. If anyone could help Lisa testify safely, it's you. I could, but I won't. Because the moment that testimony exists, even sealed in some federal case file, the Morettis will find out. They have people everywhere. Police, prosecutors, judges. Someone will leak it, and then Lisa's dead and you're in danger again. He moved close to me. I won't risk you for this. I won't. So Lisa just lives with the guilt? With knowing she could help but chose safety instead? Yes, that's exactly what she does. Because staying alive is more important than abstract justice. His hands gripped my shoulders. I know you want to help. I know you have this need to fix things, to make things right. But Chloe, some things can't be fixed. Some injustices have to be accepted because fighting them gets people killed. That's such a depressing way to live. That's the only way to survive in my world. The sooner Lisa and you accept it, the safer you'll both be. I wanted to argue, to push back, but I could see the fear beneath his anger. He'd almost lost me once to Morrison. The thought of losing me again to the Morettis terrified him. Okay, I said quietly. I'll tell Lisa no, that it's too dangerous, that she needs to let it go. His relief was visible. Thank you. I know that's not the answer you wanted to give her. No, but you're right. Staying alive is more important than justice. I pulled away from him. I just wish it didn't feel like giving up. But when I called Lisa to tell her no, she wasn't accepting the answer. Then I'll do it alone. I'll contact the prosecutor myself, arrange my own protection. I don't need your help. Lisa, don't, please. Dante's right, this is too dangerous. The Morettis will find out. Let them. I'm tired of being scared. Tired of looking over my shoulder. If I have to spend the rest of my life in witness protection to get justice for Riley, that's better than spending it in fear. She paused. I'm sorry, Chloe. I know you were just trying to help by calling 911 that night. But your help put me in a position where I have to make impossible choices. This is the choice I'm making. She hung up before I could respond. I told Dante immediately. He made calls, tried to intercept Lisa before she could reach the prosecutor. But she'd planned well, disappeared completely. Even Dante's extensive network couldn't find her. She's going to get herself killed, he said, frustrated and worried, and possibly get you killed in the process if the Morettis think you helped her. What do? We prepare, increase security, make sure the Morettis know you weren't involved in Lisa's decision, distance you from her as much as possible. He pulled me close, and we hope Lisa knows what she's doing. 2 weeks later, the news broke. Federal indictments against 12 members of the Moretti organization, including Lisa's father, for murder, corruption, and racketeering. The star witness was listed only as Witness A, but everyone in the know understood who it was. Dante's phone started ringing immediately. The Morettis demanding answers, wanting to know if he'd been involved. He handled it calmly, insisted he'd tried to stop Lisa, that she'd gone rogue against his advice. They believe me, he told me after hours of calls. They're angry, but they understand you and I had nothing to do with it. The deal holds for you. But not for Lisa. No. She's in federal witness protection now, which means she's the government's problem. The Morettis can't touch her without bringing down heat they can't afford. He looked exhausted. She got what she wanted. Justice for Riley, safety from the Morettis. It just cost her everything else, her life, her identity, any chance of a normal existence. Do you think she regrets it? I think she made a choice she could live with. Whether that's the same as not regretting it, I don't know. He pulled me onto his lap. Are you okay? This must bring up all kinds of feelings about what happened. I'm processing. Lisa did what she thought was right, even though it was dangerous. I can respect that even if I wish she'd chosen differently. I rested my head on his shoulder. Does this change things? For us? Why would it? Because it proves your world and mine are incompatible. Lisa wanted justice through the system. You wanted safety through deals. Those two things couldn't coexist. They coexisted fine until Lisa decided they couldn't. She made a choice. You made a different choice, to be with me, to accept the complications of my world. That doesn't make either of you wrong, just different. He kissed my temple. Unless you're having second thoughts. Want to follow Lisa's example and choose justice over safety? No, I'm choosing you. Choosing us, even with all the complications. I kissed him softly. But I reserve the right to occasionally think your way of doing things is depressing. Fair enough. And I reserve the right to occasionally think your idealism is naive. His smile was gentle. We'll balance each other out. The next few months proved him right. We fell into a rhythm that worked. He handled his business. I worked at the law firm. We came together in the evenings to have dinner and pretend we were a normal couple. Maria became like family. Even Marco and the security team became people I trusted rather than resented. You've settled in well, Maria observed one afternoon as I helped her in the kitchen. When you first came here, you looked like a scared rabbit. Now you look happy. I am happy, surprisingly. I chopped vegetables for that night's dinner. Did you ever think Dante would settle down? Have a serious relationship? I hoped. But after his last girlfriend, that ended badly. Very badly. I worried he'd close himself off completely. She smiled. Then you appeared. Brave, stubborn, refusing to accept the world as it is. Exactly what he needed. What happened with his last girlfriend? He's never mentioned her. Maria's expression grew sad. She found out too much about his business. Wanted to go to the police. He had to. Handle it. I don't know the details, but it broke something in him. Made him swear he'd never let anyone that close again. Handle it how? My stomach was sinking. I don't know, and I don't want to know. But she disappeared. And Mr. Russo was different after. Colder. Until you. She patted my hand. Don't ask him about it, dear. Some parts of his past need to stay buried. But I couldn't let it go. That night, after dinner, I asked, your last girlfriend. What happened to her? Dante's expression closed off immediately. Where did you hear about that? Maria mentioned her. Said she wanted to go to the police, that you had to handle it. I need to know what that means. He was quiet for a long moment. Her name was Rebecca. We dated for 8 months. She started asking questions about my business, and I was stupid enough to answer some of them. Thought I could trust her. His voice was flat, emotionless. I was wrong. She went to the FBI, tried to make a deal, her testimony in exchange for immunity. What did you do? What I had to do. I couldn't let her testify. My entire organization, everyone who depends on me, all of it would have fallen. So I made her disappear. He met my eyes. I didn't kill her, if that's what you're asking. But I made sure she couldn't testify, couldn't hurt my people. She's alive, somewhere far from here, with a new identity and a clear understanding that if she ever comes back, if she ever talks, you'll kill her. Yes. No hesitation, no apology. I'll do whatever it takes to protect what's mine. My organization, my people, my life. I told you I wasn't a good man, Chloe. This is what that means. I felt sick. How am I supposed to... How can I be with someone who... You can walk away. Right now. I won't stop you. Won't come after you. You can go back to your old life. Forget you ever knew me. His dark eyes were intense. But if you stay knowing exactly what I'm capable of. No illusions. No pretending I'm better than I am. You know the truth now. What you do with it is your choice. I spent the night in the guest room, unable to sleep next to someone who'd just admitted to making his ex-girlfriend disappear. Dante didn't try to stop me, didn't argue. He just let me go. His expression resigned, like he'd been expecting this moment all along. By morning, I'd made my decision. I found him in his study, looking like he hadn't slept either. He looked up when I entered, wariness in his dark eyes. "I'm not leaving," I said without preamble. "But I need you to understand something. I can't know details, can't be involved in anything like what you did to Rebecca. I need plausible deniability, need to be able to honestly say I don't know about your illegal activities." "You're staying?" He sounded genuinely surprised. "I'm staying. Because despite everything, despite what you've done, I love you, and I understand why you did it. You were protecting yourself, your people. I don't agree with it, but I understand it." I moved closer to his desk. "But Dante, if I ever find out you've hurt someone innocent, someone who didn't choose this life, I'm gone. That's my line. That's what I can't forgive." Rebecca wasn't innocent. She knew what she was getting into when she started dating me. She made choices that put my entire organization at risk. I know. And I'm not saying what you did was right, just that I can understand it. But there's a difference between protecting yourself from someone who's trying to destroy you and hurting people who just got caught in the crossfire. Promise me you won't cross that line. I promise. You have my word, for whatever that's worth to you. He stood, moving around the desk to stand in front of me. "Chloe, I thought I'd lost you. When you went to the guest room, I was sure. I know. But I'm not Rebecca. I'm not going to betray you, not going to turn on you, and I'm not going to leave just because I finally see all of who you are." I took his hands. "You're a criminal. You've done terrible things. But you're also the man who saved me, who protected Lisa, who keeps me safe and makes me laugh and loves me, despite how naive I am about your world. I'm choosing to focus on that man. Even knowing the other part exists? Even knowing. Because Dante, everyone has darkness. You just wear yours more openly than most people." I pulled him closer. "But I meant what I said. I need distance from your business. Need to not know things that would make me legally complicit." "Agreed. You're completely separate from operations. As far as anyone knows, I'm just a businessman with diverse interests." He kissed me softly. "Thank you, for staying, for choosing me even after knowing the worst. Don't make me regret it." "I won't, I promise." Life continued. I stayed at the law firm, got promoted to senior paralegal. Dante's businesses, legal and otherwise, thrived. We attended charity galas where people who probably knew exactly what he was smiled and shook his hand, accepting his donations while ignoring where the money came from. "This is surreal," I told him at one such event, watching a city councilman laugh at one of Dante's jokes. "He knows what you are. Everyone here knows. But they all pretend you're legitimate. Because I serve a purpose. I keep certain neighborhoods orderly, handle problems the city can't solve legally, donate generously to causes that need funding." He guided me through the crowd. "Everyone's a hypocrite, Chloe. The difference is I'm honest about what I am. They're not." 6 months after the Rebecca revelation, Dante proposed. We were having dinner at home, just the two of us, Maria having left for the evening, when he suddenly got down on one knee. "I didn't plan this," he said, pulling out a ring box. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. Then I realized there is no perfect moment for someone like me to propose to someone like you. So I'm just going to ask, will you marry me? Will you choose me permanently, knowing all my flaws and darkness? Will you build a life with me despite everything that should keep us apart?" I looked at the ring. A stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds, clearly expensive, clearly chosen with care. Then I looked at Dante, this dangerous man who'd become my home. "Yes, I'll marry you. I'll choose you. Flaws, darkness, complications, and all." His smile was brilliant. He slid the ring on my finger and kissed me deeply. "You're sure? Because once you marry me, you're really tied to this life, to my world. No going back." I've been tied to it since the moment you burst into Lisa's apartment to save me. The wedding just makes it official. I admired the ring. Your mother is going to hate me, isn't she? My mother died years ago. But if she were alive, she'd probably disapprove of me marrying someone outside the life. Tough luck for her. He pulled me into his lap. When should we do this? Big wedding or small? Small. Just family and close friends. I don't want it to be a spectacle. Small it is. Though my family is extensive, so small might still mean 100 people. As long as they're people who actually care about us, not just people trying to make connections. I'll keep it to people I trust, which isn't many, but they're good people. You'll like them. The wedding was 3 months later, held at an estate outside the city that Dante owned. It was beautiful. Exactly what I'd wanted without knowing I wanted it. Maria cried through the entire ceremony. Marco, surprisingly, gave a touching toast about how Dante had changed since meeting me. Even some of Dante's business associates seemed genuinely happy for us, rather than just attending for political reasons. This is perfect, I told Dante as we danced our first dance. Everything I didn't know I needed. You deserve perfect. You deserve so much more than I can give you. He held me close. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you choosing me. You already are. You saved me, protected me, loved me despite all the reasons you shouldn't. That's worth everything. Our life together settled into a comfortable rhythm. I continued at the law firm, though I'd quietly turned down cases that would involve prosecuting organized crime, not wanting to create conflicts of interest. Dante continued running his operations, though he made efforts to keep the more violent aspects away from me. A year into our marriage, Lisa reached out. She was still in witness protection, but wanted to thank me for that initial 911 call. If you hadn't reported it, if you hadn't kept pushing, I'd be dead, she said over a secured phone line. Yes, my life now is complicated and hidden, but I'm alive, and the Morettis, most of them are in prison now. Justice happened because of you. Because of you being brave enough to testify. Because you were brave enough to care about a neighbor. That started everything. She paused. How's Dante? The mob boss with a heart? He's good. We're good. It's complicated, but it works. I'm happy for you. You deserve happiness after everything. Another pause. And Chloe? Thank you. For everything. After we hung up, I told Dante about the call. He looked thoughtful. She did the right thing in the end. Got justice. Took down the Morettis. It just cost her everything normal. He pulled me close. Are you ever going to regret not following her path? Not pursuing justice through the system instead of accepting my world? No. Because I chose differently. Chose safety over justice. Chose you over the system. I made peace with that choice a long time ago. I kissed him. Besides, not everything has to be about grand justice. Sometimes it's enough to just keep people safe. You do that in your own way. By being the lesser evil? By being someone with rules in a world that doesn't always have them. That counts for something. 3 years into our marriage, Maria pulled me aside one morning. You should tell him, she said with a knowing smile. Tell him what? About the baby. I've been doing laundry long enough to know when someone's pregnant. I'd only taken the test that morning. Had been trying to figure out how to tell Dante. Apparently Maria's instincts had beaten me to it. How did you... I raised 4 children. I know the signs. She hugged me. Congratulations, dear. You'll be wonderful parents. I told Dante that night, nervous despite knowing he'd be happy. We'd talked about children, agreed we wanted them, but the reality of it was suddenly terrifying. You're pregnant? He looked stunned, then thrilled, then concerned. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Should you stop working? I'm fine. It's early, barely 6 weeks. But yes, I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. I watched his face cycle through emotions. Say something. I'm going to be a father. We're having a child." He pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was precious and breakable. "A baby who'll have your goodness and hopefully none of my darkness. And your strength. Your loyalty. Your ability to protect people you love." I pulled back to look at him. "You're going to be an amazing father, Dante." "I'm going to try. Going to give our child everything I didn't have. Safety, stability, a home where love is more important than power." His hand rested on my still flat stomach. "Thank you for this, for choosing this life with me. Thank you for making it a life worth choosing." Our daughter was born 7 months later, Isabella Maria, named for Dante's mother and our beloved housekeeper. She had dark hair like her father and my eyes, and from the moment she was born, she had Dante completely wrapped around her tiny finger. "She's perfect," he said, holding her with surprising gentleness for someone with his reputation. "She's absolutely perfect. She is. And she's going to be so loved." I watched him with our daughter and felt my heart expand. "Promise me something, though. Promise she'll be kept away from your business. That she'll grow up as normal as possible. I promise. She'll never know about the darker parts of my life. She'll just know she has a father who loves her and would do anything to keep her safe." He looked up at me, including walking away from it all if necessary. "If staying in this life ever puts her at risk, I'm out. She's more important than any of it." "You'd really give it up? Your organization, your power, everything?" "In a heartbeat. For her, for you. You're my family now. Everything else is just business." He kissed Isabella's forehead. "I was lost before you, Chloe. Living in darkness, thinking power was the only thing that mattered. You showed me there's more. Love, family, building something that lasts. That's what really matters." I looked at my husband, this dangerous, complicated man who'd saved me on a night when the police wouldn't, holding our newborn daughter with infinite tenderness, and I knew I'd made the right choice. Years ago, I'd called 911 3 times for a neighbor in distress. Those calls had brought me to Dante, had changed my entire life in ways I never could have predicted. I'd tried to save Lisa. Instead, I'd ended up saving myself, by finding love in the most unexpected place, with the most unexpected person. "I love you," I told Dante, watching him with our daughter. "Both of you. My whole world. And I love you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Chloe. You and Isabella. My family," he smiled. "Who knew the smart girl who wouldn't stop calling 911 would end up being exactly what I needed?" "Smart girl with terrible judgment in men," I teased. "The smartest girl." "You saw past the monster to the man underneath. That takes more courage than anything." He reached for my hand with his free one. "Thank you for being brave. For calling for help that night. For choosing me, despite all the reasons you shouldn't have. Thank you for this, for us." I squeezed his hand, looking at our daughter sleeping peacefully in her father's arms, and I knew that sometimes the most important call you make isn't to 911. Sometimes it's the decision to stay when everyone tells you to run, to love when fear says you shouldn't, to build a